Good evening and welcome to the Trades and Apprenticeship webinar. My name is Nick Boudre, the Supervisor of Career and College Programs in St. Clair County, RESA, also representing Blue Water College Access Network this evening. We're very pleased this evening to kick off the second installment of the Fall Essentials series by discussing a topic that so many students and their families are interested in learning more about: skilled trades and apprenticeships. Both of these career pathways are simple by definition, but can be complex for students and families to navigate. As you know, there's a high demand for skilled trades in not only southeastern Michigan and across the state, but also nationally as well, due to the advancement in industries and a retiring workforce that traditionally has held these careers. It is our goal tonight to provide you with a better understanding of these career pathways, the evolution of their career education and training requirements, and what it's like to work in specific skilled trades industries. Our format this evening will be a brief presentation followed by a 30 to 40-minute conversation with the panelists. After that, we'll have a question and answer segment that the audience can ask questions via the chat feature at the bottom of their screen. Please feel free to ask questions throughout the evening and we'll read them at the very end. So let's get started by talking about skilled trades by simply saying it's time to change the perception around skilled trades, apprenticeships, and the manufacturing industry as a whole. I mentioned just a few minutes ago that there's a high demand for skilled trades due to the retiring workforce, but the new employees, especially students that will fill these needs, will not be entering the same careers. Once seen exclusively as a world of manual labor, today's skilled trades jobs are highly technical and work in some of the most cutting-edge technologies in the world, such as robotics and automation. Manufacturing plants are no longer the cliche, dark, dirty, and dangerous environments that they used to be. But now there's some of the most of the state-of-the-art industries or facilities throughout the industries. And that's due to the advancement of the technology and equipment. Skilled trades now require a combination of work experience and skills and a formal education and training after high school in the form of a professional certificate, credential, or academic degree. For many years, skilled trades and the term college have been separate pathways, but that's no longer the case. The traditional term college used to refer to just attending a four-year college or university in pursuit of a bachelor's degree or beyond. But that's not the case in 2021, and it will not be in the future. From here on out, when you hear the term college or post-secondary career college training, we're referring to post-graduation education and training in the form of a certification, credential, or academic degree. This is exactly the case, as I just mentioned, to get employment in the skilled trades industry. The question you need to ask yourself is how much formal training and education does the career or skilled trades require when and where you receive it, and how much training do you need? Will it be at a trade school, a community college, through an apprenticeship, a business, or a sponsored program? The second thing that's very important to know is that if you're pursuing a career in skilled trades or an apprenticeship, the career and college planning in high school is equal to the same for a student and their family that's going off to college or university to pursue a four-year degree or bachelor's degree. It's the same amount of conversations, planning before the last day of high school. Here's all the reasons why this plan is very important. In Michigan, over 70% of its Hot 50 jobs require formal learning beyond high school. 70% of the jobs require some post-secondary education in the year of 2020. And according to the state's Hot 50, a listing of Michigan's high demand, high wage careers projected to grow through 2028, 9 of the 12 manufacturing jobs require post-secondary education ranging from apprenticeships all the way to master's degrees. Some that are listed are carpenters, electricians, HVAC technicians, industrial machinery mechanics, machinists, plumbers, pipe fitters, and steam fitters. But it's not just limited to those job titles. A lot of these general titles change from industry to industry or can be specific to certain employees or businesses, employers or businesses. You may see job postings for CNC machinists and programmers or operators, welders, maintenance technicians, robotic and automation technicians, PLC programmers, quality technicians, process technicians, and many more. They're also reporting that by 2030, there will be 4 million manufacturing jobs needed to be filled. It's also very important to know that the Bureau of Labor Statistics reports that the annual income a U.S. manufacturing employee makes in 2019 was over $80,000. There is also a sizable skill, well, we know there's a skilled trade shortage that exists in Michigan. It's going to continue to exist throughout the year 2026. These professional trades will account for more than 500,000 jobs in Michigan's economy and will add about 50,000 new job openings expected annually throughout the 5 years. Here's some examples of the jobs that are listed in the GoPro program in Michigan. As you can see, their salary ranges are very competitive and the growth is there over the next few years, and have the education and training requirements right there for you to see. So now let's talk apprenticeships. Apprenticeships are industry-driven, high-quality career paths where employers can develop and prepare their future workforce, and individuals can obtain paid work experience, classroom instruction, and a portable, nationally recognized credential. Employee opportunities are often through an employer or a sponsored program. Apprentice opportunities are often through an employer, business, or program sponsor. Some may be federal, some may be state programs, some may be union, while others may be non-union. Let's take a look at the main components of an apprenticeship. Apprenticeships get paid, or apprentices get paid throughout their apprenticeship with a guaranteed wage increase as they develop new skills. This on-the-job training program helps develop a workplace relevant skills in the field of your choice. One of the largest misconceptions is there's no education needed in skilled trades or an apprenticeship, but on the contrary, there is a required classroom learning and testing in most apprenticeship and skilled trades opportunities, including classroom instruction, and often provide college credit for your experience, helping you avoid student debt. The on-the-job learning and training is under the supervision of an experienced mentor that is a journeyman or expert in the skilled trades. It's also great to know that 94% of apprentices who complete an apprenticeship retain employment with an average salary of $70,000. Here's a look at how many active apprenticeship programs there are in southeastern Michigan. There's over 1,100 active apprentice, as well as 43 active programs. So we know this is a lot of information for you to take in terms of skilled trades and apprenticeships. We have two special guests for you this evening that are going to share their stories, including their passion for the skilled trades and how they took different pathways after high school graduation to achieve successful careers in some of the most high in demand, highest paying careers in this industry. One did so through an associate degree program at a local community college, SC4, while the other is in an apprenticeship program. Let's get this evening started with our first guest for the evening, who provided a great example of pursuing a career in skilled trades by attending community college to obtain an associate's degree in education after high school. It allowed him to take advantage of opportunities throughout his career and advance his trade. Nathan started his career as an automation technician and continued to build on his skills, knowledge, and education, and then now advanced his career all the way to an engineering position. I'm pleased to welcome back Nathan Wright, a controls engineer from Blue Water Controls. Nathan is a graduate of Port Huron Northern High School. He has an associate's degree in mechatronics from SC4. And Nathan was on our engineering career panel back in 2019. Nathan, thanks again for joining us this evening.
No problem. Thank you, Nick. Great pleasure. Thank you for having me again.
Absolutely. Well, Nathan, I'll give you a little bit, brag about you a little bit. You know, your career is a great example of the importance of taking advantage of opportunities in your career, as well as the importance of obtaining industry credentials, certificates, and academic degrees in order to not only secure employment in a highly competitive market, but also to take advantage of your career and advance it throughout the years. And we're going to have a conversation right now for the audience. And I just am so excited for them to hear about your, not only your pursuits after graduation, but your career now. So start off by telling us, after graduating high school, where did your career and college plans take you?
Okay, yeah, my plans after high school were kind of uncertain at the beginning, but I actually first went to ITT Tech and got a computer networking degree because at the time I loved doing computers. I did that for probably about 5 years until I figured out this isn't quite what I wanted, and just didn't know what to do. I went to a factory, just do some basic factory work, assembling simple machinery stuff. After that, the company I was working with went under, and I had to get some more skills or unemployment to continue on to function in this world. Okay. So with that, I was able to get the mechatronics degree through the No Worker Left Behind.
Okay, so did that company have some issues then during the recession in the mid 2000s? Is that around that time period?
Yes, right around there. Yep.
Okay, and what was that program? So the program, the No Worker Left Behind?
Yes, yeah, back then, back when Obama granted those leases for any worker who was left behind due to jobs leaving the United States.
Okay, well, so and that's what I mentioned earlier. So you took advantage of that opportunity. You enrolled at SC4, and you enrolled in the Mechatronics program. Talk to us a little bit about that program itself.
So Mechatronics was a great program I used to gain a vast knowledge on different stuff I see in my field every day. I dealt with electronical components, working with hydraulic components, pneumatic components, PLC programming, as well as even some robotics to help kind of round it out and be on the mechatronic edge. Okay.
And so mechatronics, it sounds like it was centered around a lot of the electronic and mechanical pieces of manufacturing.
Yes.
What classes do they look like? What do those classes look like at SC4?
Let's see. It's been about 10 years, but they're well laid out. Usually with you're going to do your first year class with your teacher, and then they'll have a half of it as well as labs. So what you get taught by a teacher, you're practically learning it right afterwards with hands-on labs.
Okay, very good. And from my understanding, and the audience as well, a lot of students and families here may not have a background in manufacturing or skilled trades. There were some things, electrical components, PLC programming, and robotics. How does mechatronics and the degree that you got fall into that? What knowledge and skills did you obtain that allow you to operate in the manufacturing industry?
Okay, so yeah, with that, you kind of learn what your components are and what you see are being used to move it. Like, as of right now, I'm an electronic engineer, and I have to take what's inside of a panel to make sure I have the electronic components inside it, as well as the PLC and other stuff are being used to make machinery function. Okay,
so you are dealing with then the programming to make the robotics or any piece of machinery move and to operate the way it's supposed to develop a product, correct?
That is correct.
That's great. And then it doesn't always go correct all the time, does it?
Not all the time. Usually you'll find out that with the electronic components, they require power. Sometimes you didn't give them quite enough power, and then I gotta go out and find something that will give me more power to satisfy that particular component.
Okay, very good. So you're at SE4, you're in the mechatronics program, you graduate and you obtained an associate degree, correct?
That is correct.
All right. Well, after graduation, where did your career go from there?
So I tried to seek out some stuff close into mechatronics just to get more familiar with it. Because while I was at the plant doing my assemblies, I saw their machinery and was wondering what drove this machinery, what was inside it that made it move. And that's when I figured out I wanted to go into mechatronics when I was at college.
Okay.
So after that, I ended up finding a job down into near the city on 16 Mile doing some hydraulic testing on your, let's see, it would be like the A-frame in your car just for stress testing. And I learned how to use hydraulics there. And with the classes at SC4, I already had a basic knowledge of how hydraulics worked.
Okay, so that was then an advantage having that background then from SE4.
Yes, sir.
Very good. Well, I know and I'm going to go back a little bit to your IT background, and I apologize. I didn't put this in our script when we were prepping for tonight, but we have a lot of students that are interested in IT, computer programming. They're in the robotics teams in high school. And some of them are probably in the audience tonight. How did your IT background prior to going back to school in your career really help you in skilled trades, and more specifically as a technician and now as a controls engineer?
Okay, yeah, as a technician, I found out that being able to know those coding languages from learning them in IT, whether it was C++ or Visual Basic, it kind of like a small stepping stone into PLC programming, which is what I do primarily now, as well as some robot coding. They're similar, but they're different, but just having that grasp of knowledge of how to code stuff, they kind of flowed together real nice.
Well, that's going to lead me right into my next question. And it's such a great progression, Nathan, of your career from the day you left Port Huron Northern. So then you're working as a technician and you end up going to Blue Water Controls. And this is where you and I met, discussing a controls engineer position when we toured your business. You're an engineer now. Talk about what it's like being an engineer and how it's similar and how it's different.
Yeah, so most of the differences right now is that as an engineer, I'm more responsible for making sure like we have drawings of the whole equipment. So we have electrical drawings and pneumatic drawings, any drawings that have to do with any of the robots. I am responsible for making sure all that stuff is accounted for and properly managed to make sure that we have it. Okay. As it's a little different. I'm sorry, that was different. Similar is I still keep programming, but I've had enough experience to where I kind of know what I'm looking for certain mechanical items like cylinders or even the robots. I have a better understanding of how they function and what's needed to make them move.
Okay. Well, that was going to be the next question. You're doing a great job helping me segue here. Does having the background in mechatronics and that experience as a technician in the skilled trades help you now as an engineer?
Yes, it does. It helped build like the basic foundations I needed to help do my job very effectively. Not only in the mechatronics world, it's great, but even if say you were I want to say a mechanical assistant at a factory or even their regular techs in a factory, most of those guys see electrical, pneumatic, and a whole bunch of different other components related to the mechatronics. So it gives you a nice basic background on what you're going to see.
Okay. So when you got your mechatronics degree, really didn't narrow your career opportunities, it really expanded it.
Right. That is correct. Like even your basic entry level tech at a facility, most of them have those skills or people are looking for those skills so that they can work upon it.
Very good. And one of the things that I talk with students and families, Nathan, and and we've talked about tonight, we're going to continue to talk about throughout the rest of the evening, is career progression and how it looks so differently for each student. It looks so differently for each career. And you really have such a tremendous example of what a true career progression of taking advantage of opportunities, advancing your career through learning new skills, getting, a degree, and from there, what would your best advice be for a student and family that's in the audience right now that says, I want to take a path that may lead to skilled trades right away after high school, or maybe go to a trade school or a community college, or maybe even enter a program such as an apprenticeship program?
Right. Yeah. It's schooling's very important. It helps kind of lead the way of where you want to go and how you want to do it. I've just been very fortunate that every path I've been able to take has led me up to here. Excuse me. And the people I've worked with have always been very open and willing to help me pursue these goals in a nice team environment. So it's always nice to be upfront and say, hey, I like this. Let's see where it goes.
And Nathan, and a couple questions, manufacturing related. Been out to Blue Water Controls a few times. It's an absolutely tremendous business, an amazing facility. We've toured it with high school students in the past, and had other leadership groups out there. There's that myth and that cliche that manufacturing is dark and it's dirty and it's dangerous. Is that the case for manufacturing where you've worked?
Not in my case, not so ever. We're all a nice, fairly clean facility. We kind of keep things very organized. We know where things are. We take special care to make sure everyone stays safe and healthy. Everyone wants to go home with all their digits at the end of the day. So yeah, make sure we stay good and healthy.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's one of the myths that we always are dispelling. And talk about your career specifically, skilled trades. It's a very vast career pathway. But if you look at the electronic side, like yourself, as a technician and as an engineer, looking at where you work now, how much electronics and how much is that industry with automation changing? I mean, how much of your guys' business is based on some form of electrical component, PLCs, or robotics?
Oh yeah, it is vastly dependent upon those items to help make things work around here. Yes.
Yeah, that's great. And it's pretty much the future of manufacturing as we know it, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. And even on like the robotics side, a lot of things are being done robotically that people just can't do or are having a hard time doing. So it gives me a job to approach some way of giving a solution to a customer to help make them function better.
Well, that's great, Nathan. And I can't thank you enough for joining us. We have another panelist that we're going to get to here shortly, but is there anything else, any other advice or anything that you want to leave the students and families with tonight?
Yeah, sure. Don't be afraid to look around. I enjoyed Mechatronics because it gave me a great base for learning a little bit about everything within the field. But if that doesn't fit you, look for something else. There's plenty of stuff to do out there.
Very good. Well, thanks again, Nathan. I can't thank you enough for being an expert panelist and bringing your career and so much great example information to the audience tonight. And I'm sure I'm going to see you again. I'll be calling for your assistance on future programs.
Okay. Well, thank you very much, Nick.
All right. Well, I think Nathan just gave us such a great rundown on not only his career, but also what a mechatronics degree from a community college or a trade school can actually, or an apprenticeship can do for your career. As he started off not attending tech in high school and went on to a community college and progressed his career through opportunities and continually build on his electrical and mechanical skills, and from one opportunity to the next led all the way with that degree to his engineering role that he's currently in, but he's using the same skills that he developed during that time. Mechatronics is for many of the people in the audience might be the first time they hear that, and as well as PLCs. Now, PLCs are really the brain or the computer behind machinery and components and robotics and automation. It's programmable logic controllers, and really, in layman's terms, is the program, the language that goes into these machines that allows them to perform specific actions. And when you think about manufacturing in the future and what it is today, this is pretty much at every piece of machinery has a PLC component in it. Our next guest, much like Nathan, is going to provide you with not only a great insight of a journeyman apprenticeship program, but also the importance of combining work experience and formal education and training after high school to secure employment in a high demand industry. All right, well, let me welcome my good friend Cody Estenberg as a graduate from KPAC High School. Do a little bragging. Cody is a journeyman electrician apprentice with Local 58 and also served in the U.S. Navy as a petty officer second class. Cody, thank you so much for joining us this evening.
Oh, thanks for having me, Nick. I'm looking forward to talking to you guys.
Well, thank you. Thank you so for bringing, we don't get a lot of people that can, get on these programs with your experience. So we're very lucky to have you here tonight. So after graduating from KPAC High School, talk to us a little bit about where your career and college plans took you.
When I graduated, I think I signed up for the military halfway through my senior year, and I was dead set on something to do with law enforcement. Didn't know if it was going to be FBI, Homeland Security, a police officer. Wasn't sure yet, but that's kind of what I wanted to do. So I wanted to kind of give myself a upper edge to other candidates for later down the road and serve in the military, because that's always nice to have on your background. And I ended up doing law enforcement there, security. And I did that for about 4 years. And after I got out, I was like, I don't really know if I could do this the rest of my life. It just doesn't seem something that I could be happy doing or see myself, 55, 60 years old, retiring and being happy. So I went to school, went to SE4 for about a year and a half, 2 years, I'd say. And I was going for engineering, for mechanical engineering. And kind of got a little bored with that too. Realized that the whole desk thing, the office setting kind of wasn't what I was looking for. And I had a lot of friends and a lot of family members that were in the trades, electricians, carpenters, kind of all the way across the board. And one of my buddies kind of talked me into it and ended up getting into an electrician apprenticeship. And here I am.
All right. So Cody, I think, there's a lot of people in the audience, and even myself, when I left high school and went off to college, you just really don't know right away. And that's why I'm so glad to see the number of students and families in the audience this evening, to hear the information so they can start planning when they're actually still in high school. Because between you and I wish I would have done that a little bit more. So when let's rewind a little bit. At SE4, what classes did you start taking when you got out of the Navy?
At SE4, I was kind of just mainly focusing on my general studies, physics, chemistry, algebra, some reading, writing classes, kind of things like that.
Okay, so
did a little bit of CAD, a little bit of engineering stuff on that side. But
okay, so even though you decided not to pursue that bachelor's degree, you and I were talking in our conversation, you had the credits of an associate's degree when you left SE4.
Correct. So I had the credits, and then actually it's kind of funny because I remember sitting in college class doing geometry, and I'm like, man, I can never see myself doing this. Like how can I do this? This won't apply to me, And now in my job with bending pipe as an electrician and everything, I use geometry almost every single day, like cosine, tangent, Pythagorean's theorem. Like it's an everyday thing, and it's just kind of it's an epiphany,
Well, I appreciate you saying that, because I often get asked the question in education by students is, when am I ever going to need this? And I think you just answered that question.
And that was my exact mentality too.
Yeah, exactly. That's great. So after you're in those classes and you're starting to figure it out, maybe this isn't the career pathway for you. You became interested in as an electrician in an apprenticeship. Did you go right to Local 58, or was there a different path that you took?
So my initial plan was to get into 58, which that was the main goal. But I want to say that Local 58 they had so many applicants that they weren't letting people take the test for almost like 2 years to get into the program. So I got in touch with one of my buddies, and he ended up getting me a job at a non-union company out of off of Marine City Highway there. And I did that for about a year and a half, 2 years, I think, something like that. And finally, I got the call from 58 to come in, take my test. I took my test, got my interview, did my interview, and here we are.
Well, that's going to lead me to my next question there, Cody. So the company that you went and worked for the first year, that was non-union, but you were in an apprenticeship going to become an electrician. And then in 58, for the audience, what did those hiring processes look like? I heard you say test and interview. Was that the same for both?
So for my non-union employment, it was pretty much, buddy said, hey, we got an interview for you. Go there, or suit and tie, went to the interview. They looked at my sheet and everything, my resume, and they were like, all right, you're hired. And I think I started working 2 weeks after that. And but the hiring process for Local 58 was a lot more tedious than the non-union. It was about a 10-month process from my aptitude test to the day I actually started in the apprenticeship for Local 58. I had to do a physical, I had to do a drug test, interviews, all that.
Oh, and I'm going to ask for it. You said interviews, plural. So did just not one quick interview?
So I was fortunate enough to only have one interview after my aptitude test. I had one interview, but then there were some other people, like my classmates, that actually got brought back a second time to whatever it was, but yeah. Very
good. And now that test itself, you already made the mention of how important the classes that you're taking in high school are and in college, and you're using those now. What was that test like? Give us just a quick summary of that test.
The test was mostly math and reading. The reading portion was, it was reading, and then the math portion, it wasn't anything too hard, probably like Algebra 2, I would say. So if you knew anything about Pythagorean theorem, equations, X, Y, and Z, you do pretty well on the test.
Okay, very good. So let's fast forward a little bit now. You're working towards your journeyman's card. What are the requirements for you that you're working towards right now to get that credential?
So right now, from the start of your apprenticeship program to when you take your test to become a journeyman, you have to log 8,000 hours in a matter of 4 years. They only accept 2,000 hours a year. Overtime hours do not count to the 8,000. So 2,000 hours a year for 4 years. You take while you're in the apprenticeship, it's like a 1 to 10 ratio. Every 10 days that you work, you're going to class 1 day. At least that's the way it is for 58. Non-union was a little bit different. They got a couple other routes that you could do. But for me personally, it's been 1 to 10 ratio. And then, like I said, the 8,000 hours, that's the biggest thing. And once you get that, schoolhouse signs off on your hours and you can go and take your test to become a journeyman electricians.
All right. Well, there's a lot of things I gotta circle back to here because it's great for the audience to know. So 8,000 hours divided up by 4. So over the 4 years, that's pretty much a full-time job for 4.
Yep. It's a full-time job. They do accredit you for, I think it's for for your class days kind of thing. They give you like 200 hours. But 2,000 hours a year is pretty much a full 40-hour work week, 52 weeks a year.
Okay. And I'm gonna just scream this from the top of a mountain right now. You go into the classroom, right?
Oh yeah.
And a lot of the misconceptions are, I'm done with high school. I'm not going to school anymore, but I want to go into the trades. So what are you guys doing when you guys are in the classroom? 1 out of every 10 days.
It kind of varies. Some days it's all hands-on, wiring things up, bending pipe, the instructor teaching you something new. And then other days it's your nose is in a book and you're reading. Some of it's very important, some of it's nice, and you enjoy it. And then other stuff is just dry and boring. But it's something you got to do. You just got to get through it.
And the schoolhouse signs off on your hours, then it's 1 more year and then you're out of
Yep.
apprenticeship.
Yep. So you can take your test at the 4-year mark for the 8,000 hours, but then once you get your card, you still do have that last the last year to in class.
Okay. And can you get your journeyman's card, whether it's union or non-union?
Yeah, so non-union, it's the same concept, 8,000 hours. The non-union shops that I've heard of, it's mostly just a 4-year program instead of 5. The 4-year program, you're still logging into a class. Some companies do things a little different. My company that I worked for non-union before had an in-house program because the company was so big. So I think it was every other Saturday during the winters or something like that, we were going in. And then other companies have, I believe it's like ABC trade school that they have to go to. And then there's other companies that you can do everything online through some universities.
So now that you're in your apprenticeship, talk to us a little bit what your day-to-day looks like.
Day to day depends on what job site you're on, kind of thing, and where you're going to, what your start time is. But start time is usually 6 or 7 o'clock. You're waking up. I tend to get there a little bit early, just try and get the start on the day. Clock in, do your safety brief every single morning with your employer and your boss. Go talk to your boss, see what the game plan is for the day. He'll put you with a qualified journeyman to work underneath of, and you kind of just got like a to-do list to do for the day, whether it's wire some lights up or put some install some pipe. Your day is going to vary from whatever job site you're on.
Well, you're getting right to my question, because you and I talked about this when we were prepping for tonight. So you're not working at the same job site doing the same thing every day.
No, I mean, if you start a job, very rarely are you going to be there to finish the job, because either you're going to get called off to go work somewhere else because they need your expertise in some other aspect or whatever it is. So sometimes you're on a job site for a week, sometimes you're on it for a whole year. It kind of just varies. You could be commercial, you could do residential, industrial, you could be inside FCA, Ford, GM plants, working side by side with their electricians and their millwrights, or just be putting up a commercial building and working with other electricians and HVAC guys all around you.
And you don't have to stay right here locally once you get that card.
No, so one of the big thing about the union, the IBEW, is once you get your journeyman's card through IBEW, you could travel all over the country if you want. You could work out of that local and just work out of that local as a traveling electrician. So if you wanted to go off and see the country a little bit, you wanted to go down to California for a couple months, you could go down to California and pick up a job there. You could go over to the east side of the coast and kind of just travel all over. It's all what you want to do.
Well, Cody, this is such great information here for students and their families. Before we get to my last question, which I always love asking, but they always say if you love your job, you never work a day. And I can tell, do you love your job?
I don't mind. I don't mind going to work one bit. It's hard work, but it's very gratifying. I love what I do right now. And to me personally, I can't beat it. I'm very fortunate to be in a position that I'm in right now.
Very good. Well, having said that, what's the best advice that you would give a high school student and their family that was interested in skilled trades or just entering an apprenticeship program, whether it's a freshman that's in the audience in their first year of high school, or maybe a senior that's in the audience that's considering following the same pathway that you did?
The best advice I could probably give, oh man, that's a hard one. I think mine would be is that if you get out of high school and you join the trades right away, you could be setting yourself up for a very successful life at a very early age, at 21, 22 years old. When you're going to come out with no student debt, potentially you could have a house, you could have everything that you wanted, new vehicles, whatever you're into. And you just get that go ahead on life. But that's the best I got.
Very good. Well, Cody, I can't thank you enough for joining us tonight. Bringing that type of information to this panel this evening has been tremendous. I'm going to actually remove your spotlight here and get the question and answer period open right now, because it's a lot of information. In an hour, we're putting it out there right now for the students and their families. And I'm going to give you a few minutes. If you would like to ask a question, put the cursor down. It's the chat feature right in the middle of your screen, and ask a question. And you can send it in and we'll direct it to Cody and have him answer it. And hopefully we can give you some more information this evening. All right, I got a great question. Actually, I'm going to answer this one. It says, how do you find a job shadow for plumbing and construction? And that is a great thing. I actually had that as a note for later in the evening. The underclassmen that are in the audience tonight that may be in 9th and 10th grade that are interested in skilled trades should consider St. Clair County Tech. It is on the RISA campus. They have technical education programs such as construction. They have Mechatronics that deals with electrical components, much like Nathan and Cody were talking about, as well as nursing programs, culinary, welding, and automation, and automotive repair and technology, just for the few. So if you were an underclassman, that way that process looks like is the second half of your 10th grade year, about February, there will be an open house that's hosted at Tech, open to students and families that come and explore all the programs. From that point, you will fill out an application for Tech and then set up a job shadow. So you can actually go and job shadow the program while it's happening with the current students, the 11th and 12th grade students that are in these programs, and see it. And if that's a program of your choice, then you apply for that and other programs, hopefully to get in for your junior and senior year. That's a great question. If you're an underclassman, you're interested in skilled trades, I'm not going to say it's a must, but that is a tremendous opportunity out at St. Clair Tech to get into skilled trades and technical arenas. Looks like here's another question here. How competitive are the apprenticeship programs? The union apprenticeship or electrician program, for example, how many spots are available versus the number of applicants? Cody, I'm going to go to you on this one.
I think it kind of varies with what we have going on with the economy. Obviously, that's like a huge thing, especially with Local 58 and the areas that we're in with Detroit, with the big three. But it's pretty competitive to get into. Like I said earlier, they didn't take applications for 2 years just because they already had so many people on the books that took the test waiting to get into the program. So sometimes you can get lucky and you can get in within a couple months, and other times you might have to do something like I did, go non-union first to get into the union, to get that experience, because 58 loves to see that experience on your resume as well. So it's kind of a one-upper on other people too.
I think that's you brought up a great point, Cody. And for that question on apprenticeship program, especially union or non-union, and I think that's a point I'd like to make for the audience too, is it depends on the time. And if you put all your eggs in one basket and say, I'm going to Local 58 right after high school, and then like Cody said, they weren't accepting applicants for 2 years, and then you don't have a plan to redirect your career progression after that, don't let that stop you. Sometimes there might not be a lot of openings. Sometimes there may be, but as Cody did, Cody took his work experience and his enthusiasm and passion for the trades and his education and went to a non-union shop and got in an apprenticeship program and started developing work experience and developing skills that were employable. So when he got into Local 58, that he could be highly competitive as a candidate. Is that right, Cody?
Yep, spot on, Nick.
Very good. Well, I think we got some other questions here. I'm gonna, all right, that one I'll take here. It says, mention that Cody can use a journeyman card and travel around the country for different jobs. Does that apply for all unions and trade categories? Cody, you want to take a stab at that one?
Yeah, so from my experience and everything that I've seen from friends being in other trades as linemen, plumbers, if you're in a union and you get your journeyman's card, they call that a golden ticket. That essentially means as long as that state, that city has a union, like a local there, you can go in and you can sign their books to work out of there as a traveling journeyman for whatever trade it may be, either carpentry, electrician, lineman, plumber. It applies for everything as far as I know. And that's one of the big things too, why everybody loves the union so much, that when, say, in your area there's not that much work and you still want to work, you just kind of go to the next city, go over to Flint, or you go down south a little bit, go to Ohio, you get to travel all over and kind of go where the work's at.
Very good. I got one more question for you, Cody. Says, how much did your military background and training, if any, count or help towards your career path? How did the military training help or not when you changed courses from criminal justice into the trades?
I don't think it helped too much. I mean, you get that. I think to get into the program, I think that military background definitely helped me. It kind of brought, it was that other one-upper kind of thing, and that's why I think I was kind of fortunate enough to get in the program as fast as I did compared to some other people that I've heard stories from. But from what I kind of learned in the military and stuff like that, for the most part, it's just nice knowledge that I have now.
Very good. Let me see if I got. All right. So I got a couple other general questions here. So one being some associate degree to SC4 before going into the trades. What are 1 to 2 that you would recommend? I would say any associate's degree right now, whether it's at, we do have SC4, it's a tremendous partner right here. And if you're looking to get a 1 year, actually it should be 6 months to 1 year to 2 year degree. You can get certifications and credentials at a community college. There's mechatronics, there's welding. There's a lot of those, degrees that translate over to manufacturing. And I would probably say those two, in terms of skilled trades and manufacturing, would make you highly competitive in the job market. Anything electrical right now, as Nathan and Cody just talked about, is going to be the future of manufacturing and across industries, just not in automotive manufacturing. Another question that I had come across, was there any apprenticeships or job shadows for things like translation or language studies? As preparing for tonight's event, you can actually go to apprenticeships.gov and look at all the federal programs, and there's also state programs that offer apprenticeships in a wide range of industries, just not manufacturing and skilled trades. There's going to be an email that's going to follow up on tonight's webinar in the next couple of days that'll have all the resources, the recording of this webinar, and we'll be sending it out to you, and I'll be sure to add that website on there. All right, well, that concludes our discussion this evening with our guest. I just wanted to say what a great evening and what so much great content and useful information that really came out. And you're probably wondering, where do I go from here? Well, that was the second installment of our fall webinar series. The next two that we have coming up for the seniors in the audience, this is extremely important. We have our very first live FAFSA completion workshop on November 4th at 6 until 8 p.m. This evening, we invite parents and families to attend this virtual event to ask questions and receive support with the FAFSA application. And our ultimate goal is to complete that application that evening or the nights to follow. The last event that we'll have in the fall series will be nursing careers on November 18th from 7 to 8, where we'll take a look at various nursing careers and the vast education and career opportunities it offers as one of the hottest jobs in Michigan's top 3 highest in demand careers. Next up, for the seniors in the audience, here is a look at the fall 2021 senior checklist that we published a couple weeks ago. This checklist will feature tasks you should be completing this fall to ensure that you stay on track over the next few months. If you didn't make our webinar 2 weeks ago, senior year planning, you can find a recording on our website at bwcan.org, as well as additional career and college information from previously recorded events and college stories. Here is the look at our homepage and our website. Once again, that is www.bwcan.org. You can also subscribe for the BWCAN monthly newsletter that provides students and families with updated information and resources from St. Clair County, RESA, BWCAN, and our community and state partners. You can also stay up to date and connect with us on our social media platforms.